Oh, isn't laughing when you start to hang out effective? I just love doing that. Greetings, everyone. Saludos a todos. Double Suns Explained for dim dims like Crow 777 and more than half the crew of Globebusters. This is for them. First, something came my way today via Facebook. I thought it was very curious, so I made a recording of it, and I'm going to play it. But for the sake of effectiveness, I hope the audio comes through okay. For the sake of effectiveness, sorry, I have an itchy nose right now. For the sake of effectiveness, I'm going to make my screen black so you can really pay attention. Enjoy.
I communicate this with help from a young man who typed my words on a computer in your world. I mention this for the benefit of those who need this to be said in jest for the sake of their sanity and for whom this is merely comedy. Well done you, however. For everyone else, please pay close attention. In the early 1970s, I happened upon a fundamental truth that rocked my world. I attempted to inform the world about this truth, but Anglo-Saxon rulers did not allow me to do so, which is why I am attempting again, this time from what some refer to as the other side. Here they cannot stop me, between our worlds, ensuring the message reaches all those with resonant consciousness on Earth. If you are hearing this, then yours is such resonant consciousness. The fundamental truth is that the Earth is flat and rests within upon a level plane as expansive as the divine consciousness itself. In this expansive plane there are an infinite number of other worlds, much like Earth. Some bigger, some smaller, and none.
Okay, so it sounds like the audio is not coming through very well. It's Stephen Hawking. I'm going to play it again and try to translate what I hear at least.
I communicate this with help from a young man who typed my words on a computer in your world.
I communicate this with you with help of a young man who types on his computer in your world.
I mention this for the benefit of those who need this to be said in jest for the sake of their sanity.
I mention this for the sake of those who need this to be said in jest for the sake of their sanity.
For whom this is merely comedy.
For whom this is merely comedy.
Well done you, however.
Haha, well done you, however.
For everyone else, please pay close attention.
For everyone else, please pay close attention.
In the early 1970s,
I happened upon a fundamental truth which rocked my world. I attempted to inform the world about this, but Anglo-Saxon rulers did not allow me to do so. Which is why I am attempting again.
From what some refer to as the other side.
This time from what some refer to as the other side.
Here they cannot stop me.
Here they cannot stop me.
Between our worlds, ensuring the message reaches all those with resonant consciousness on Earth.
Luckily, Tesla is here helping me to reach all those with resonant consciousness on Earth.
You are hearing this, then yours is such resonant consciousness.
If you are hearing this, then yours is such resonant consciousness.
The fundamental truth is that the Earth is flat and rests within upon a level plane as expansive as the divine consciousness.
The fundamental truth is that the Earth is flat and rests in a pond upon an expanding plane as expansive as the divine consciousness itself.
This itself. In this expansive plane there are an infinite number of other worlds, much
Oh, and this expansive plane, on this expansive plane, there are infinite numbers of other worlds similar to Earth,
bigger, some smaller,
some bigger, some smaller,
and just as many worlds, most definitely unlike Earth.
and countless other worlds most definitely unlike Earth.
There are also a limitless number of such expanses laying beneath and above Earth's plane.
There are also limitless number of such expanses laying beneath and above Earth's plane.
It is expansive planes all the way down.
It is expansive planes all the way down.
All of them under that same divine consciousness, which
All of them under the same divine consciousness,
necessarily the holistic part of all of it.
which is necessarily a holistic part of all of it.
This includes you too. You are a part of it, living with that divine consciousness.
This includes you too. You are part of that divine consciousness or something like that.
When it communicates with you directly,
When it communicates with you directly,
so by sending shivers down your spine,
it does so by sending shivers down your spine.
so enjoy the rest of the adventure called life.
So enjoy the rest of the adventure called life,
The next phase of which began when you started listening to this.
the next phase of which began when you started listening to this.
Namaste.
Namaste. Well, that's a surprising message from Stephen Hawking. Anyway, that was a big fail. Can delete that. Okay. Okay. Double sons. Double sons. Oh, I have something trying to start. 1 second, people. Oh, I will screen share. Where is my thing? I placed on private yesterday's video because I think I might have got the angles wrong. And if so, it's not right to mislead people, not if you suspect that you might be misleading them. I checked today with the sun. The sun was off. And a bunch of other people checked too. But I need to do this from a field so that nobody can object to the methodology. Okay, let me screen share. Everybody in the chat, greetings. This is not going to be a marathon. So let me screen share. Just waiting for the page to load. So that was Stephen Hawking giving us a message from the other life, from the afterlife, from the other realm, whatever. Right. First, these are airy beams. I did not know about these when I wrote the Book of the Sun, which is unlucky for me and the readers, I think, because if I'd known about these, I would have referred to them and sounded all the more intelligent. As you see, let me make sure that, yes, you can see my cursor. These lights are bent, okay? The lights are bent, curved. As you see here, I'm pointing only at the most coherent lights. These are abstractions, okay? The other two are real images. These are abstractions of what's happening from the misinformed mind of the physicists who think that light is a wave. This is a more closer abstraction, with the light being on the rim. Okay, so let's go back to this. This light can be manipulated through magnetism, obviously, into conveying information. Can you see? Like fiber optic cables, which is another way I refer to light in the Book of the Sun. So light can impart information. For instance, be happy and rejoice, says the sun, or hide because I'm going to burn you, says the sun. Okay, now what's this? This is the paper on it. So take a look, write it down. I might place the link in the description again. And now let me screen share something else, which is going to be the major part of this Hangout. This one. Okay. Again, greetings everybody in chat. So, and then I'm going to, in fact, I'll tell you a story. No, I'll tell you a story afterwards about Chris Van Mitra, who's been working with Crow 777. Oh dear. A little bit of drama. Just a little bit of drama. A way of checking who has the finger on the pulse, and a way of checking who is and who isn't an honest individual. Okay, first we will go over here, and this is going to be the main thrust of this brief Hangout. This was on a channel, it's a Spanish language channel called Hasta lo Más Alto. I've chosen this small section after discussing with somebody on Facebook who will remain unnamed because I don't think it's fair to shine light on them. So recently, Globebusters, Sons, let's not talk about the Book of the Sun. Oh God, no, that would be embarrassing. We have David Wise monitoring us. We can't have Antonio discuss his Book of the Sun. He might say something about Wise being an agent, about Steer being transgender and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, might even mention how Mike Kavanagh's a charlatan. So this would be a closer, a better discussion about what's happening with these double suns. Okay. Here on the left, this big glare you see on the edge of this building is not on the edge of the building. It is literally reflecting from the glass side of that building. Some people have pointed it to this video showing this glare and the sun over to the right and said, there you go, that's a double sun. That's called misdirection. I'm going to show you why this footage contains double sun. So I'm explaining, I've muted it, that this is glare. And some people have looked at this footage, seen that glare, the sun to the right of it, and said, oh, look, two suns. This is a kind of charlatanism that Crow 777 is engaged in, but in a more subtle form and being held by the hand by Chris Van Mitra. This is the same footage. This is the sun that was to the right of the previous. Okay, this is the second sun. So I'm describing and circling, you know, because I was on the Hangout with Ricky Schmidt, who's translating my book into Spanish. Now, Ricky Schmidt is another one of those anachronisms in the flat earth, you know, because we're all supposed to be retarded and not have any education, because he is a PhD in Spanish literature. Oh, no, not a real doctor, huh? So keep watching. Here is the sun rising earlier than the footage a few seconds ago, and you can see its reflection in the water. What we refer to its reflection in the water. Okay, with our limited understanding of light, we refer to that as the sun's reflection in the water, instead of the sun pouring through into the water. The same thing that causes the sun is causing the reflection in the water, but it will become absolutely crystal clear that what I'm saying is correct. Not just an illusion, not just fanciful thinking. I think I have to move forward, but actually correct. Let me move forward a bit more. Jeepers, how long is this taking to right here? Oh, so you're seeing what we call the sun's reflection, right? And you're seeing that sun. That's the second sun. The real sun is to the left and is not the glare on the building. The glare on the building is farther to the left and later on in the day. Okay? So please keep watching. And don't worry, I show more than one. This was a small portion, just an error. And where is it? Okay, here. Now, watch that sun. I've zoomed in on it. Okay, let me go back so that you can see where I start zooming in on it. Okay, so let's be clear. The real sun, what we call the sun, is to the left of the shot. This pink orangey light with the orangey reflection in the water is the second sun. It is not a lens glare of the first sun. Keep watching as the second glare of the sun stops being on an airy beam. Boom, it faces out. Okay, you see where the cursor is, it has faced out. That's where it was. It's no longer there, but its reflection in the water is still there. You see the reflection in the water? It is still there. That's because the reflection in the water comes from the same light that was causing that sun to appear at a nexus point of field lines. Those field lines can be referred to now as airy beams. So watch again. Watch as that sun disappears, but its glare in the water remains. This is not CGI. This is not camera trickery. Who shows you stuff like this? Antonio Subirats shows you stuff like this. You see the real sun over on the left? You remember at the beginning I said there was glare from a huge building. Some people have looked at this footage, excised this portion of the footage and referred to that glare as the second sun. This that you're watching now is two suns on the television news in China, where they are talking about the two suns that were recently captured. Okay, this is the television news. The Chinese are not retarded people, and everybody understands glare, camera glare. The Chinese television news is not going to have camera glare as a news article or as a news item. Why do they have it? Because it's peculiar. It's a phenomenon that's not understood. So it's like, well, look at this funny thing that happened t'other day. By the way, I have to say, since I put the book out, some of the people who started communicating with me through email are absolute geniuses. So to you guys, thank you. I am so much... I didn't expect it. I didn't realize that would happen. I didn't predict it to myself. I really didn't expect it. But my gosh, some of you guys are just geniuses. And I'm very grateful for it. Right. Now, as I said, this was on a Hangout, and I don't recall quite what was being said at the time. I'm just saying, well, these are two suns, in the sky. It's not glare. Television news in China. Let's see if I can move ahead a little bit. Oh, no, I would just let it play. So these are double suns all over the place. Mainly seen, by the way, when looking towards the magnetic anomaly. So I'm not quite sure where that was in China. I'm trying to figure out where it was in China and which direction they were looking at. And I am happy to be corrected and be told those were double moons. Okay? If somebody reads Chinese and says, no, those weren't double suns, they were double moons, I'm happy to say, okay, fair enough. That's totally fine. It's still two of them. and one of them is not glare. Now here we have another one. I think this one's from Italy. I'm not sure. And I show these for educational purposes according to the copyright laws. Damn it, not copyright laws, fair use. Okay, can you see how the sun is dividing into two? Some people might be saying, oh no, clouds that we can't see. It's clouds that we can't see that's bifurcating the sun. Like, no, it isn't. Stop making stuff up. It's a magnetic phenomenon that's bifurcating the sun. Now I go on to explain how this happens, the bifurcation of the sun, how it is that we can have two suns in the sky when only one of them is the real, our normal sun. The other is not another object. Neither of them are objects. Just like these rings aren't objects. Just like airy beams aren't objects. Okay, what I'm describing here is that, look, you have here the sun, that thing we call the sun. We have, I'll pause it, under here, a portion of one of the threads or beams. I'm going to call them filaments, which is what I describe them as mainly in the book. Okay, filaments. Think of spider webs. And this comes from A4, Adam Dwyer, who said, I think in terms of spider webs and completely crackpot chaotic, is like, now it's like, wait a second, it's not so crackpot and chaotic. Think of spider webs. We all know that there are spider webs that we've walked into because we didn't see them. They were there, but we couldn't see them. They were not energized by light in a way that we could see them. But at other times, we've avoided spider webs because we have seen them. It's not the times we've avoided the spider web, it was extra thick spider web. It was just the angle between our eye, the spider web, the thread, and the sun, or the light of the sky, because it might not have been a sunny day. The light of the sky energized. It allowed our eyes to pick up the energy on those webs. Now, here is filaments. So the sky, we live in a miasma, in a plethora of filaments that in the old days were described as the ether. Here we see an energized one. Everybody can see this by looking at the sun with your own eyes. In fact, you can do this directly towards the end of the day when you can see the sun. Just calmly half close your eyes as if you were sun gazing. Okay, so you see all of these rings. These rings are there all of the time. All of the sky is composed of these rings. These rings are not just there under these special conditions. They're only visible under these special conditions. And what I'm explaining here is that with the other sun, we saw that there was a ring that went round from what we might perceive to be the face of the sun, like a great big hula hoop that goes off to the left and round the back of us and comes round, and another hula hoop that's perpendicular to us. And where the two hoops meet, you get this, okay? This can happen in various different places depending on the conditions. So I go back in the video to explain. See this horizontal, because that beam is horizontal. This one, the one that's above the camera, is horizontal. This other one is not perpendicular, but at an angle. Here we see more threads, energized threads that we have always dismissed from childhood when we were told, oh, the sun doesn't really have threads. Here's a very energized thread. And the double sun is when you don't see the links between the threads, these hoops of filaments. You don't see the link between them, but there is a link between them. And the link manifests as what appears to be a second sun. It is merely the same energy as the normal sun manifesting elsewhere. And it's not just the elsewhere, it's merely a reflection in the sky on, God forbid, camera lens glare. It's really there. That's why it casts shadow, a reflection in the water. And that's why after it has disappeared, the reflection in the water remains, because the filaments which were manifesting that sun being a nexus of filaments, are energized. So despite the sun having disappeared here, I'm going to move back. So despite the sun having disappeared from the sky, the filaments are still energized. It's what we call daylight. And those filaments still have the same shape. And they're drawing that shape in the water. That's what we call the sun's reflection. And that's why sometimes the sun's reflection comes towards you, and sometimes it veers away to your right or away to your left. Sometimes the reflection is directly underneath the sun, and sometimes it's just off to the left or just off to the right, depending on where you are and the conditions for that day. So let me go back to where I was. Oh, hello, beautiful Russian woman. Okay, so here's another. And here's some more that the guy who's filming this knows about camera glare, so he's moving his camera and he's zooming. Now, if this was camera glare, when he zoomed, the glare would have moved away from the sun. So what he does is he moves his camera around so that everybody can see it is not glare. And he zooms and he shows, look, it is not glare. Now, people might say, oh, well, what it is it's glare in his window. His window pane is doing that. It's like, well, if his window pane was doing that when he zoomed, it would also have moved. It's not glare. It is the same type of double sun that we've just been looking at. It's always much weaker and it disappears. And when it disappears, people are just left with like, well, what the heck was that? If you haven't captured it with a phone, then it's like, how are you going to convince people that that really happened? You can't. You can tell them that you swore you saw it, and they'll just tell you that you were seeing things. Or they might tell you you were seeing a sun simulator, which is why we've had the news releases about sun simulators and why we've had the predictive programming like television adverts with an artificial sun where it blinks out and they go and they fix it. That's why it's predictive programming. The guys who run this place, who run the attention of the humans on this place, because that's really all they run, those guys are focused on distracting the humans from seeing these things. So they know some are going to see it. And for those, well, if you've told them that you have a sun simulator, they will simply say, oh, it's a sun simulator. That's what it is. By the way, on this video, you can hear the bird song. You can hear that the guy's got his window open. Also, he's not retarded, so he's got his window open so he can see it more clearly. Oh, sorry, I paused it. I thought, what the heck? Okay, what's next? Don't recall. Let me see. Oh, yes, a nice, beautiful sunrise, double sunrise. Yeah. Okay, can you see how the person is moving the camera around so that you can really determine that it's not glare? In fact, whilst he moves the camera around, you can see glare. I'm going to slow it down. You'll see glare moving across below the roof line. Okay, I'll slow it down. Give me a second. Because these people, they know that people are just going to say camera glare. So they move their cameras to make sure that you can dismiss the camera glare. Watch out for real glare. Okay, there's the glare on the bottom of the screen. You can see what looks like a slightly distorted sun right now, and there's the glare on the bottom of the screen again. And now look, as he has zoomed out, see the glare? Sorry, there's that open window here. But you'll see the glare moving. If you haven't already seen it. There's the glare. So thank God for people like this guy who know what to do to demonstrate glare and non-glare. You see the glare there, moving in the opposite direction to the motion of the light, which is how glares behave. So in the opposite direction to the motion of the light in the distance. Let's just call it that way. Okay, now I'm going to put it back to normal speed because it's very jittery like this. You see the glare moving around. And there will be people watching this thinking that other smaller ball must be glare of a different type, of a type that's not understood properly. It must be. Not being able to accept seeing light in the water after the second sun disappeared and not being able to accept this. Now remember, folks, the reason some of you are watching this channel is that you know that my previous channel was killed by YouTube. It was killed for showing things like this and putting it coherently. So what you're seeing here is the same thing, only more separated. The only thing that causes a separation is basically the level of magnitude of the level of amplification of the waves that are causing the sun. So here the amplification is the amplitude is lower, so they're more distant. When it's higher, it's much closer. So, or the energy, the energy, the amplification, the amplitude of the energy. And what you're seeing here is a second sun rising. You see the sun, the normal, what we call the sun, and there's the other sun. Now this happens every year in Brazil, but also in Russia. And people will say, oh no, well what this is duplicated footage where you have two sets of waves tumbling over each other. They say, really? Have you ever looked at the ocean? For goodness sakes, look at the ocean. This is not two sets of video footage taken from exactly the same spot several days apart so that they can superimpose it over each other. And that's exactly what people have said. So ignore the suns if you want. Just look at the waters as they come towards you. And see whether or not that's behaving like the real ocean or like superimposed oceans. This is a real phenomenon, people, and it's going to be captured by more and more people. This is what's going to happen. I predict this in the book of the sun. These are going to become increasingly frequent. They're going to happen more and more often, and more people are going to capture them. And when they're capturing them, there will be David Weiss's on the beach telling people that one of them is a sun simulator, and Chris Van Mitra and a Crow 777 telling people at the beach, oh, the small one is a sun simulator. Even though if you look at the details of the sun simulator, there's no way of turning it off. And this is what happens. And eventually the minor sun disappears just like it did in the other footage. And this that you're watching now is not even time lapse. This is real speed, real time. What you'll notice too is that the beams that are reflecting this water into the ocean will start to bend. And I showed this bending beams or bending rays, bending reflection on Tim Osman's own video. He issued a copyright strike for me showing that. Tim Osman issued a copyright strike for me showing his own video, which shows this curved reflection, rather acutely curved too. And the Globelings just can't deal with this because it breaks their model of the world. Their concept of the world gets broken by this. The same thing as Wolfie 6020's model of the world gets broken when somebody says, hey, can you tell us what constellations you could see in the sky when you could see the moon? And here we have 4. Now, here's the thing. Okay. These are filaments. These, okay? They're not as wide as the sun. These are very narrow at the point of the camera. These are very, very narrow at the point of the camera. These other suns don't have these. These aren't glares, but the frequency isn't apt for them to display their subsequent filaments. Now, Orphan Red has a video where she flew from Canada to Las Vegas, from Las Vegas back, and she filmed the same effect that's going on here over a solar power station. Only here we're looking horizontally. She was looking down towards the solar power station, and you saw these 4 lights stream across and move as she was looking down. Yes, Orphan Red. You know that really stupid Mensa member? That's got to irk the Bob Nodells of the world. That has got to really, really sting him. And many of the other people in Flat Earth. Not to mention the Globelings. Oh, look, one of them disappeared. The glare from that other sun must have just disappeared, whilst the other glare remains. Or it's not actually glare. Okay, so, oh, I think I was spending something else. Let me see. Yeah, that was it. Oh, no. Yeah, here's another. Now, the last one, I'm not sure if it was sun. Oh, yes, this last one was passed to me. Okay, this is Russian footage from Russian-controlled Antarctica. Okay, not sure whether this is sun or moon. Really don't know, but let's watch. And this comes courtesy, it was passed to me by Sergei Malsev. Now, the people filming this are obviously flying. They're either flying on a plane or a helicopter. They are flying over Antarctica, looking north. I think, I'm assuming, okay. You see these, obviously these 2 lights in the sky? Keep watching. Remember, Russian-controlled Antarctica. Unfortunately, there's not enough information to say whether looking north or south. I'm assuming the most logical thing to think is that they're looking north. If they were looking south, the bottom of the screen, all of this region, would be light because it would be snow. This is ocean. They could be looking south over an area of ocean that we're not familiar with, but I assume that it's looking north. Could be wrong. Look at the one on the right. Oh, there you go. I was saying that on the actual Hangout. Notice the change of color. The script that goes with this says something along the lines of, those who control this place turned them off. Now, it's difficult to say whether that's just dry Russian humor or what. Again, Russian controlled Antarctica. I think I was probably saying exactly that in Spanish when I posted it. Let's move ahead. So who shows you this? Nobody shows you this because nobody's really paying attention. They're all too wrapped up in what other people are talking about or what other people are showing. They're too wrapped up in mud flood Mayas or Tartarian Mayas. That's all. It's just a Maya. Are people really surprised that there were ancient empires on our earth, given that the Greek Empire was ancient, the Roman Empire was ancient? Are people really surprised? The Prussian Empire no longer exists. Are people so surprised that there might have been another one that hasn't really been discussed much? It's retarded people. So there you go. Stop screen sharing. Now I'm going to tell you a little story, a little bit of drama. Let me go into the chat, because drama sometimes is necessary. And I mean that wholeheartedly. You cannot achieve certain things without the drama that goes with it. Like, you can't extinguish a house fire without a little bit of drama. Okay, so Chris Van Mitra, who's been working with Crow 777. In one of my videos before Christmas, in the main channel, before it was killed, Chris Van Mitra, in a video that had nothing to do with transgenders or anything like that, jumps into the comment section and writes a long comment about how Steer is a beautiful, natural woman, and I am a despicable person for trying to smear it. He went quiet when I pointed out to him that Steer's failed rape allegation smear backfired. That smear that Steer attempted and which backfired. I pointed this out to him and also pointed out that he was talking to somebody who knows, who doesn't believe or think that Steer is a transgender dude, but very sadly and unfortunately knows. Now, this Chris Van Mitra was also involved with the gyroscope test, was he not? This Chris Van Mitra has been explaining to Crow 777 that actually you can sometimes see a double sun on your camera when people can't see it with their real eyes. It just has to be through this kind of filter. That's a charlatan disinfo agent. You have to think, how do disinfo agents work? Remember I shared recently, in fact, what I think I'm going to do, I might get a copyright strike, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video. I'm going to go and have a coffee. I'm going to find it. 1 second. Where is it? I passed it to people, so I'm going to find it from the people I passed it to. I'm going to play a video with the audio, okay, here. All the way through. It's dense, okay? It's not bubble gum for the brain, which Globebusters unfortunately is. And much of the flat earthness going on is really just bubble gum for the brain.
DARPA's information.
So what I'm going to share for educational purposes comes from DARPA. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it so that I can better describe disinformation campaigns and disinformation agents. What do disinformation agents not do? Disinformation agents don't describe the tactics used by disinformation agents. That's what they don't do. Okay? So I'm going to screen share. I'm going to go and make a coffee. Please enjoy. And then I will engage with the chat a little bit, just because I love hanging out with you guys. And quit. So let me close this. And let me screen share. Again, and this is long. This is half an hour or so. Pen and paper. Okay, for what I'm going to play. I'll place the link in the description. No, in the chat. I'll place a link to this in the chat. Although I will show what the video is called. So no, actually, I won't paste the link. It's too distracting. I will simply show what it's called. And if you want to watch it with more attention and listen to it several times so you can really take in what's being discussed, do so. Okay, here we go. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to split the screens to make sure that the Google controllers don't halt the transmission like they have been doing on my Hangouts. Okay, so let me make sure that it's going live. Wow, look at that hair. Jeepers creepers. Oh, come on. I'm looking. Right, here it is. Okay, here we go, people. Please enjoy. Let me turn the volume up and enjoy.
Innovation Office, Dr. Hava Siegelman.
Thank you. So AI has great promise, and as a researcher in the field, I also know that it has some deficiencies. So my name is Hava Siegelman. I'm on leave from the University of Massachusetts, where I'm a professor both in the computer science and in neuroscience. And I joined DARPA so that I can be part of this revolution where we make AI a better partner. So we see these great successes in AI. They play unbelievably games, they recognize images, but we always look at the success and are very happy about them. But when we take AI to be embedded in our own world, it's a little bit different. So if we think about Tesla self-driving cars or Alexa at home or Amazon, there are great successes, but there are also some failures. It seems as if AI is very successful in structured environments, but when I go to unstructured environment, it's more haphazard. And depending on the situations, these failures can be more or less costly. There seems to be one particular underlying reason that seems to be perhaps the reason to many or most of these failures. And this is the following. State-of-the-art AI, or as we call it machine learning, is given a program to follow and a training set to learn from in advance. It learns and then it stops learning. Once it stops learning, it starts operating. So it can really do everything that we told it in advance. Kind of like a regular computer program. So you have a computer program and it does what it does and it never learns over its lifetime. So in this sense, AI is not that smart because everything that it learned was from the data set that it was given to it in advance. Now, you would agree with me that you cannot think of every eventuality when you prepare a training set. So at some point, you'll have input that you don't know what to do with, and the system will fail. And especially when we're talking about AI that we put today everywhere in our lives, and we have AI that works in more complex environment, AI starts talking to other AI, it seems like we're getting closer to more possible failure modes. So we can think about it in this graph, where the X is time and the Y is performance. So during the training time, the performance go up, then they remain constant until you reach some inputs that has changed, that is not exactly what we know to do. In this situation, the machine learning will not be able to do something else. They will just repeat and repeat their own answer. What we would like to do is to have machine learning that has this capability to go like the green line, in the sense that it will be able during its life to continue and improve, so that when it looks back, it will say, at the end of the training phase, I was not that expert. Now I am. And that's why we created the program L2M, or Lifelong Learning Machine. This is a large program. We have 17 performers and 9 smaller groups. And together we try to solve it. So we're actually working very much together. We run it a little bit like a research lab where people talk to each other and support each other's effort. What I would like to do is to show you some of the successes we currently have. The program is 10 months into the program, so we're not yet to the first year, but we already have some successes. So the successes I would like to tell you are all coming with the terms of the pillars of what we call the pillars of lifelong learning. The first of them is continual learning. Continual learning is the ability to learn more as you see more inputs. This is a basic in human intelligence. It was never the case in AI until now. The second pillar is internal exploration. In internal exploration, you don't get a new input. You kind of look at what you had, at your experience, you try to better understand it, you reorganize what you had, and you get ready to prepare for the next day and the next event. The next pillar is the context-modulated computation, and that means that we're learning new behavior and new function all the time, but as we learn them, they're not rigid, they're actually modulatable. So what do I mean? Let's say that I want to encourage a toddler. So it will be more something like, that is very good, yeah, I'm so proud of you. And just think that this toddler became, after a teenager, I think you're better off express yourself with something like. So if we had to think about any encouragement pattern as a different function, it would be very inefficient. So this context modulation allows us to learn only what we need and modulate as we go. And the last one is the new behaviors. And the new behaviors is the accumulation of everything together. When through internal exploration, we also do safety and security to predict the future. And with all this together, we're able to get our experience, our internal studies, and be prepared for things that we never saw before. This is what we call lifelong learning. So let me share with you some of the great results. So the first of them is about continual learning. And here I want just to mention a particular problem that we have in current AI. So let's say that you trained your system on 1 billion examples. Let's say these examples were related to driving on a road. And then your car made an accident. And because of that, you want to give the new 30 examples and train the system on that so that you will not do exactly the same example. You cannot do that because in the state-of-the-art neural network, what's happened is if you take the new 30 examples and retrain your network again, you're actually writing in the same location in memory where the previous examples set, where the previous 1 billion examples set. And that's why you cannot train on one and then train on other. That is what we call catastrophic forgetting. So this is the current AI, and we would like to have something much better. So what people are doing nowadays in AI, when they found something that they really need to train the system on, they take the new 30 the 1 billion early one, they're putting them together as a new training set, stop the system, and restart doing it all. In the AlphaGo, it took 9 months to retrain the system. If you have a self-driving car, it will be probably more than 10 months. So if it goes to critical operation, it will be something like that. Oops, wait, don't move, I'll be back in 11 months and I'll show you. So that's the notion of what we would like to do with the continual learning. So replay is something that happens in biology. And Irvine noticed that in biology, we don't have actually an option of retraining because the examples from yesterday are no longer here. The only option that we have is to replay the internal representation that we have in the brain that tell us something about the previous thing that we saw. So they tell us another thing, that in biology, we're not going to replay everything from childhood till now, but we're only going to replay this particular memory that are in risk of being forgotten when the new memories are being put in. Baylor School of Medicine showed us another thing, that for practical reason, instead of replaying the internal representation, they take the internal representation, they regenerate input-like information, kind of like what we do in dream, and then take this input-like information that was regenerated from the internal representation and replay it to the system. And this way you get the best results. It also gives very nice interpretation and functional explanation of dreams. Internal explorations. So Columbia University showed how an arm of a robot can learn its own structure and function by internally playing with the ghost arm. And this way, if later on the arm is injured or has other changes, the arm will be very fast able to adapt to a new condition. NYU showed us that in order to understand better, you can do self-quizzing. So what is self-quizzing? You can take image that you got, maybe even an unlabeled image, and take a small piece out, and then ask yourself, what's the piece that is missing here? So you know the answer because you have the full image. So in that way, you created a labeled question from an unlabeled image. You can go ahead and take the colors off and say what was supposed to be the color. Again, you know the answer. You can do something that is even much greater. You can take from one large scene, an image, you can take small part of the image and say which of the other small images are part of the same scene. This way, you can learn, for example, about the connection of train and the train station building because they were in the same situation. So notice that this is actually bringing you to another different understanding of AI. Instead of having a pure pattern recognition, you start having correlation, which is really the step of what brings understanding. Context modulated computation, University of Chicago taught us that the brain is changing its own circuitry totally based on the context. For example, a hungry rat will compute with a different architecture than a satiated rat because there are some top-down connections that are there only when the rat is hungry. This way, the prefrontal cortex will start leading to different kinds of neurotransmitters. Wyoming took this notion of neuromodulation and translate them to better machine learning. They show that you get far higher capacity and also you can switch seamlessly between different tasks. UPenn took it further and showed that even in strategic games, if you consider the task something like get blue then red or get red then blue as the context, then you can modulate your computation very fast and have a different behavior in an environment is just modulation in a much more efficient way and much more optimal way. Tufts University, they studied the mechanism that allow lower animal to regenerate after amputation and to have their neural system regenerate after they put a new eye into the system. And in this way, they look at flexible robotics and it has some reason to escape from where it is, and they allow this flexible robot to change its shape and to in fact grow a leg so that we're able to do the functionality that it needs. University of Massachusetts showed us that because you can associate different things and have better association and understanding between things, you can actually have searches which are much more intelligent. So if you go into a home, you've never been there, and you ask to look for a kettle, you look around, you're going directly to the room where you see the refrigerator there and not to the bedroom. And as you get to the kitchen, you go directly towards the stove, and there you're likely to find the kettle. SRI prepared for us an interesting evaluation testbed that is built on StarCraft 2. So what they did is they enable the program to have a ghost programmer that will be in the back and change all the time the situation. So when you're a player, you must be all the time aware because you're going to be in situations you've never been before. So one thing that they showed us is that they can changes in the terrains, and they also can make changes and alter the unit capability itself. But they go on and makes it even harder so that friends can switch into foes, and you can even increase the weapon range. So you cannot play this game unless you have lifelong learning AI, and that's why we can use it as a testbed. And now I would like to change gears and talk about another problem that is plaguing current AI. So it was shown that AI can get really confused, and if you add some kind of perturbation, it will recognize the panda on the right as a gibbon. Even that we will not see any type of difference, the machine learning will already see it as something totally different. So this is what we call adversarial AI, and it was shown that it's very easy, in fact, to come up with this perturbation. You can do it in an extremely fast algorithm. So the question that comes is, this kind of trick works only for still images? So Intel showed us that this is not the case, and I'm going to show you some example of physical attack, and in the background you will hear some clicking. This will be a Geiger count sound that will be higher when the deception, when the attack is successful. So let's start. So this is a face recognition system that recognizes Chen, a graduate student in Georgia Tech. Now he puts these well-designed classes, and it makes him look like Brad Pitt. I never knew how easy it is to become Brad Pitt. Then they're looking at a speed limit. It's 15, but this speed limit is going to look like 65 just after you put some sticker on the top of it, which is a great excuse to tell a policeman when to stop you speeding. And if you can see there are two stop signs there at the end, the machine will recognize one of them consistently as a person. So if you want to go further, it's not only still images or video, but we can go to other type of modalities. So a system that will can transcribe something that doesn't work, to say without the database the article is useless. And if you add a little bit of noise and bring it again, then the system will tell you something that is totally different. It hears the same, it will transcribe something pretty scary, like, okay, Google, browse to evil.com. So this can happen in different ways, and it sounds like the sound doesn't work here, so it's okay, I will hear myself better. There is another type of attack which is called a backdoor, which is really cool. It's so easy you can do it yourself. So let's say that there is a club, it's restricted club, it's closed for average human being. Only Wonder Women, Wonder People can get into the club. So let's say that this average man wants to come into the club. So what does he do? He chooses some type of accessory. He takes this accessory, it can be a hairpin, it can be a necklace, and it injects it into pictures of Wonder Woman in different sizes or in different angle. Then he blurs this adding on, so for the eyes it will not look that strong, but for the AI club it will be enough confusing. It will add it to the training set in order to poison the system, and now this average person will come, will put on the glasses, and voila, the system recognizes him as Wonder Woman and will let him in. This is a very easy way to do. So, are deception attacks relevant to the DoD? well, if our enemy would design some kind of sticker that will let our eye think that it's another kind of vehicle, it can be a little confusing, or the enemy could use all kind of other attacks that I described. So one thing that is standing for us not to worry so much is that all current physical attacks were designed with full knowledge of the system that attack. In fact, they needed the copy of the AI to be with them because they needed to look at every single weight. However, there is the other side, that the field of attacks growing very fast. In fact, you all know that image recognition worked so well, almost to 100%, but you can attack all these image recognizers so that they recognize images with almost 0%. So the field of adversarial AI started coming with defenses. However, for every defense that was suggested up till date, a new attack that came undid it totally. So the feeling today in the field is that it's much easier to design an attack than to come up with defenses that will be strong, so that the design of attacks outpace defenses much greatly. What can we do? DARPA comes to the rescue. So that's why we now form a new program that is called GUARD, Guaranteeing AI Robustness Against Deception. We start with asking fundamental theoretical question: why is AI so brittle? What features will make the system stronger, more robust against adversarial attack, and what features will be such that they will not really be helpful? And this fundamental theory is the basis for the new type of defenses that will come. The second one is coming with these principal defenses in order to have very strong system. So I want you to notice the previous defenses that were suggested were coming against a particular attack. But for analogy, think about defense system. The defense system is there to protect your body, period. It's not really helpful if you had some kind of immune system that was good against the flu from 2008. And so that's the type of principal defenses we're talking about. And the type of defenses we're talking about will not only work for classifiers, even that's the example I was talking about, but they will in fact be working on any kinds of AI localization of an object, prediction, decision-making, reinforcement learning, strategy making, you name it, because in its base, the deception comes for one reason, and the defense will have to sit in that place. For the third part, we'll come with a testbed to evaluate if systems are defensible. We'll do it relatively to a scenario. What do I mean by scenario? It will have to tell us how much time the attacker has, what computation time, what knowledge it has about the system, what the defender has, what the defender knows about the attacker. Does he have enough time to detect if there are attacks, or he has to work without knowledge? All these type of things will come into the scenario, so that once we have this testbed, we'll be able both to defend the system and to say when we can use it safely. And with this, I would like to close my talk. And I want to say that, and it seems like in the upcoming future, both if we talk about robotic arms, or if we're talking about smart prosthesis, or some other type of AI embedded in the world, we would like this AI to come partially trained from the factory, being able to be trained more by the owner, and even then remain adaptable, aware, and resilient. And I would just predict that in future years, what we call today AI, or much of what we call AI, would be called pattern recognition algorithms. And in order for system to qualify as AI system, that will have to have lifelong learning and robustness. And with this, I thank you very much for your interest. And if you're interested in pushing AI to be your resilient, reliable partner, please contact me. Here, I'll be here until the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Another evil Israeli telling the world things that it's better for the world to know. Huh? So, let me stop screen sharing. The reason I showed that is if you go and watch it again, because it's something that's very difficult to grasp in just the one sitting. You can read between the lines sometimes and see there's an explanation of how counterintelligence works right there. So what is somebody who infiltrates a group going to look like? Exactly the same as everybody else in the group. How are they going to do this? By behaving like they are genuinely somebody in the group. It's old Machiavellian techniques. With AI, if we think that flat Earth is something beyond the control of the ultimate controllers, then we're stupid, because the ultimate controllers have AI. They wouldn't have started. And by the way, what they're telling us about AI is not really what they're working on now. It's what they've already worked on. They worked on it decades ago. They just inform us of what MIT did. They did this decades ago. So when Elon Musk comes out and says, beware the dangers of AI, he's doing two things. He's saying, pay attention to AI. And two, he's saying for his masters, AI is not bad, is it? Wink. Because AI could have stopped the whole flat Earth talk at the beginning with Matt Powerland, with Eric Dubay. Just nip, no access. Sorry, no access. Okay, it didn't. AI is with us, guys. If you see AI as an enemy, then you're in trouble. So, forgetting AI and going to the world of humanity, I'm now going to play a short video. And this is to explain to people that Chris Van Mitra is an agent. They're not all going to be swarthy. They're not all going to be sexy. Some are going to appear like doofus. Some are going to appear like klutzes. Okay? So, I'm now going to play a video. I'm going to look for a video. And we will see whether or not Bro Sanchez is legit. Okay? If Bro Sanchez issues a copyright strike for me playing what I'm about to play that I was on, then he's not legit. I'm going back some time now through his channel to a hangout I was on with David Weiss. David Weiss pooed his pants when I went on. This is back in the days when Flat Earth a-hole had thrown a hissy fit about how the AE map, like way behind the times, about how the AE map is wrong. Say, wow, you're bright, aren't you? And Weiss was there to play interference and to posit ideas about gods and demons. So just bear with me. I'll find it. I made a video of it on my previous channel. If meanwhile anybody in the chat is familiar with the one I'm talking about, please let me know or paste a link. I will look in a second. Right now I'm just scrolling through his videos to see if I can find it. So what David Weiss does, I'll just tell you, and then when I find it, I'll show you. What David Weiss does is he's saying about how Jake is low in spirits, and this is when the demons can get you. And I go on to shut him up and start talking such tripe and point out to him that Steer alleged rape against me. That's just unconscionable for somebody to level such a horrible claim. What Weiss does, knowing fully well all of the details of the supposed claim, is he makes out like the person who was spreading that smear was some doofus teenager living in his mother's basement, even though he has had much interaction with Stephen Chess, the guy who was doing the smearing, the guy that Steer defended after I exposed the smear. David Weiss knows that this individual is not a teenager, is in fact in university. And is sheltered by Weiss and Steer. So when on Brother Sanchez, he tries to stop me exposing the smear, he throws a hissy fit. I'm looking, let me look in the chat, see if anybody's found it. Sorry, guys. Where's the chat? I've lost the chat. Just give me a second whilst I find the chat, because I can't find it right now. I don't remember how long ago it was. So, okay, let me go to the chat. See if any of Poncho, if you know which one I'm talking about, would you do me a favor, man? Because I can't find it. It might have been pulled. I don't know. It was one where this is back in the days where Sanchez said if anybody could prove that the Gleasons was a bad map, that he would burn his Gleasons because he sells Gleasons maps. Okay, he said that he would burn them, publicly burn his Gleason maps. He didn't do, even though I went on to explain to him how it's wrong, but I couldn't continue much further because Weiss was screaming. And I was there mainly to say, first, Weiss, you're a POS, and second, the Gleasons is wrong, and this is how you can determine that it's wrong. Screaming. So I'm looking now in the chat. And this is why I say the drama is sometimes necessary, okay? I haven't brought any of this on. I didn't ask for a freaking transgender to come and stay with me. And I didn't ask for that transgender to then, when I exposed the transgender as a narcissist, not as a transgender, to level claims of rape. That was a retarded thing to do. Sergey Marsev, how are you? I sent you a message after your call. Anyway, Jack Dunphy said that it's all right for you to say that Antonio Subirats, you don't assemble cars for a living. Jack Dunphy, I don't assemble cars for a living. And that's a very bizarre thing. It's all right for you to say that Antonio Subirats, you don't assemble cars for a living. No. No. Brian Wilson, no. You say, if there is a huge conspiracy, they would find an excuse to ban all flat earth conspiracy content, not mess about with agents. The stakes are too high. This is the thing. If they need flat earth to come out, but they can't allow it to just run wild, then they're going to allow flat earth to come out with agents to slow it down. That's the role of the agents. It's not to quash it altogether. If they wanted to quash it altogether, like you say, they would have done. This is one of the ways that we can discern or deduce that it's being allowed. Yes, so Jack Dunphy writes, what David Weiss does very well is bully Jaron into things like following his suggestion and play ball and give away all the editorial rights to his own footage to a bunch of Netflix horse. What he's also done is isolated Jaron from capable flat earthers. That's what he's done. That was his main task. Separate Jaron from capable flat earthers. Anyway, yeah, but good point, Chad Dunphy. All right, I think you have the video, Poncho. Thanks, man, if that's the one. Dude, you're a godsend. Also, remember, it's very simple. Deep inside the rabbit hole is how his channel is called. What does that mean? It means all of these are conspiracies, and all of them are conspiracy theories, just like the rabbit hole. What is this? Boycott the fake flat earth debate. Psyop, Bro Sanchez TV, flat earth asshole Antonio Subirats. Wow. The Limitless channel. Let's see. I'm
For
watching.
your eyes, you know, I can lie to your face. I can tell you that I'm a Satanist, but I can have you convinced.
Problem caused by people
Let's
like
see.
ROTR, enslaved by media.
Oh, this is
Enslaved by media.
great. Sorry, I forgot who the Limitless channel was. Okay, this isn't the one, Poncho, but I'm going to show it. Okay. Now, these guys, I wouldn't be surprised if they issued a copyright strike. Tangent, and never mind the Bro Sanchez nonsense. I will bury that guy sooner or later. Right. Let me screen share just a portion for educational purposes. The Limitless channel was on. I went on. I joined QMFI on a hangout yesterday, and these two very delusional disinfo agents. So this is Ronnie. I forget his surname, and Jason. I never knew his surname. For those of you who don't know, Ronnie was introduced to me when I was new in Flat Earth. Well, relatively new. When Flat Earth was very young. Ronnie was introduced to me by, wait for it, Patrick Steer. That's right. All of you who are familiar with the Limitless channel and Ronnie and his delusional Jesus worshipping Jesus under a different name, Jehashawah, or something like that. No, that's not a joke. Okay. This guy was introduced to me by Steer. Okay. Now, what I'm going to, I'm not screen sharing. What I'm going to screen share is their map and model. Okay. Just a freeze frame. And he and the other guy threw a hissy fit and were continuously muting me on this hangout on QMFIs. And I mean, continuously muting me. If you go and watch the hangout, you'll see that my speech is very halting because I was continuously muted for simply pointing out that in this map, this is their reworked version of a diamond map, a Pac-Man map. I point out that the Kamchatka Peninsula that I'm circling with my cursor is approximately the size on this map of Australia. Can you see? I'm saying approximately, not quite the size of Australia. Okay? This simple truth, this simple fact. So this guy is also a disinfo agent. That's his role. His role is to disinform good, kind, intelligent Christians. So where the woman discussing AI was saying, what forms of attack may the AI be subject to? She went through a series of attacks. But what she was saying with the whole club that only allows wonder people was, you can disguise yourself as someone and play a role and be accepted. So those guys, unfortunately, they speak to the unintelligent Christian flat earthers, and by extension to their more intelligent brothers and sisters, you know, through persistent, but the Bible says, okay? And this is these guys. Yes, so those guys, they were arguing with QMFI, who says that he can film clouds behind the sun. They were arguing with him about this. And tonight, as Poncho Pete says, they said that there are clouds behind the sun. They hijack things that have been said by other people, then repeat them as if it's coming from them. Now, one of the biggest arguments that we had on that hangout was the charlatan trying to explain the sun, not having a clue what he's talking about, me explaining to him that the best way to think about it, because the sun is so abstract and so embedded with ideas of ball, the best way is to look at it through something similar that's light coursing and that we see in the real world, which is a rainbow. He tried to claim that he was the one who thought of the rainbow first. I simply pointed out the first time I mentioned it was in late 2015, incidentally, with Stay, Wise, and a bunch of other people, okay, on a hangout, because I did lots of hangouts with those clowns. So these are deceitful people. And these deceitful people, there are many deceitful people in the flat earth. Many deceitful people. The guys that are organizing large groups to go roaming to discuss, what they're doing is they're hijacking capable people's time. That's what they're doing. That's literally what they're doing. They are hijacking their time. If they're with them traveling to do a street performance, flat earth, did you know the earth is flat nonsense, they are making sure that those people are not at home thinking, contemplating, studying. And when they're not out on the street, they're discussing, chatting in big Skype chats, all hijacking people's time. So the flat earthers that have been communicating with me through email and through Facebook, these are flat earthers that are communicating with me. I haven't spoken to the majority of them. Communicating with me stuff that they've developed, understood, or perceived on their own because they were not hijacked by any group. So I'm telling this for all of you. If any of you is in a large group that takes a lot of your time, get out of it. Okay? Just get out of it. If it takes a lot of your time, it's fine people sharing things on Discord or Skype or groups on Facebook even, sharing things. But if they are taking your time, then get out. Because the reason for that group is to take your time. Now I'm looking at the chat. Hey, Dan W, when are we going for a curry again? I'm free this weekend. You need to shout out that the first Flat Earth Astrolabe app on the market was the idea and hard work of the late Aaron Dover. Put this DITRH POS in his place, please. Yes. So Aaron Dover first on Globebusters discussed an app, okay, and also in his own channel. Aaron Dover disappeared. Now, the news was, and this is very difficult to confirm, and if it's true, it's very sad, and I have no reason to think that it isn't true, that he was murdered, that he was thrown out of a 7-story window. This is what I heard. And that this happened shortly before being visited by some people who'd gone to Thailand to visit him. He lived in Thailand. Aaron Dover was a real original thinker. It was Aaron Dover's words that opened the channels for me to understand the sun. I was looking and it was very difficult, okay? It wasn't until I came across some of his information showing spider webs, Venezuelan spider webs, which shimmer rainbows on the top, that opened a small chink. That chink allowed me to ask the question, to realize that I could not do this alone, and to ask the question of the universe to help me see. It was that showed me. Okay? So Jack Dunphy, thanks for pointing that out. And deep inside the rabbit hole with his AE map thing, which Aaron Dover did talk about, but Aaron Dover wasn't He left 2 years ago. He's not been in the discussion, noticing that the A is literally wrong. But yeah, deep inside the rabbit hole. How about you call your Flat Earth channel "This is Conspiracy Nonsense"? Because that's what deep inside the rabbit hole means to people. You need to shout out that the first Flat Earth... Yeah, I did. Sorry. Is that a repeat? Did you... yeah. Okay, stop spamming. I just read it out. No flaws in the Twin Towers aren't over. Yes. So there's lots of footage of the Twin Towers taken at a certain time of day, showing that you can see right through large sections of the World Trade Center. Like, this is true footage. Now, people say, oh, no, it's just coincidence that you can see right through. No, those floors were huge. They would have dividers. They would have partition walls to separate one section from another section, to separate the boss's office from everybody else's office, or whatever the case might be. There would be desks and computers, okay? So yeah, Aaron Dover, original thinker, sorely missed. So is, by the way, A4, whose real name is Adam Dwyer. At least he's sorely missed by me. I communicate with him very seldom through Facebook. That guy's a genius. He's a genius, light years ahead of other geniuses in Flat Earth. Okay, Jack Dunphy, I've mentioned it already. Stop spamming the chat, because that's like the third time. Sorry, the second time. Antonio, I don't believe in controlled opposition, Brian Wilson. Okay, so this is the thing, Brian Wilson. The fact that you said you don't believe in controlled opposition, this is how I read it, and this is literally what you're saying. I don't know anything about controlled opposition. That's what you say when you say you don't believe. It means you don't know anything. So you might have a belief or you might not. If you knew about it, then you wouldn't have to believe. Alex Jones brought so many new people into all conspiracy thinking that didn't stop with his views. He's been a net plus. Same thing with F.E. Shills. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but here's the thing. The person that really brought people to the whole conspiracy thinking was somebody who called out Alex Jones. That was Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper was killed. Alex Jones was made a millionaire. So, you know, there's that too. Jack Dunphy says, Aaron was involved in opposing extreme political groups prior to FE. His death was more likely linked to the people he was pissing off back then. Quite possibly. Who knows? Who knows? Quite possibly. Could have just been a complete crazy... Who knows? Who knows? Peter Murray, let's face it, who has funds for a 20 grand gyroscope, i.e. Bob and all that fakery? Real gyroscope, apparently not sensitive enough now. Oh, right, okay. Right, I tell you what I'm going to do. Just give me 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the manufacturers of the gyroscopes. And we're going to look at their descriptions of the fiber optic gyros and the ring laser gyros. And we'll find where they describe the rotation. They describe the function of the gyro. And the reason I'm looking for this is that they all describe that when the gyro is idle, it picks up no interference pattern. This should be a good one. Just give me a second. I contacted the makers of the ring laser and fiber optic gyros. who have bases all over the world, but the hub is in Britain. Britain has some of the best engineering in the world. I forget what they're called. I've got it written down somewhere. Housley was one of the names. No, Housego. It's a double name, double-barreled name. And they couldn't answer my questions. They couldn't put me through to the right department. Right, so I'm looking for the info. Right, let's see if they have a search. Yes, they do. Let's see. Sorry guys, just bear with me. It's such a maze. Okay, I'm going to ask for help from the people in the chat. Can anybody find documentation? Actually, I'll carry on looking. From the makers of fiber optic gyros, describing its idle phase. By the way, the MiG-21, I'm going to show a video of that was passed to me. I watched it some time ago. By the way, Martin in Latvia has an old Soviet plane gyroscope. Just bear with me as I glide through this. It's so strange reading something like I'm reading now. Whilst being live, it's very strange on your consciousness, on your conscious mind. Oof. Okay, I'm now going to look in the chat. Go, Poncho, I'm opening yours. Oh, download? Let's see. Somebody has Johnny Cash playing. Johnny Cash was cool. Right. Oh. Poncho, can you tell me what page? In fact, no, it's okay. We can. Everybody can read this in their own time. I read through manufacturers' blurbs and info and all kinds of stuff. And I checked 3 different ones. All of them said the same. Basically, some of them said how many decimal places it can register, all kinds of stuff on your G drive, says Cosmic Surfer. I'm going to look in Skype, see if... sorry. What I'll do another time is I'll find it, I'll pull it up, and I'll highlight it. Which is bizarre that Globebusters didn't... okay. Right, thanks, Cosmic Surfer. Surprising that Globebusters... and when I say Globebusters, I'm talking specifically about Bob Nodell. Okay? Specifically. Right. Rolf, so that I don't spend forever just showing what it looks like when I'm confused whilst reading, would you let me know what line or what page? Wait, maybe I can do a search. Find. Let's see. Sorry, my system's slow right now. So, when the manufacturers of the gyros, in fact, I tell you what, I could just show a video of them saying it. I've shown it before. Oh, damn, something went wrong. View. I don't have a search that I can do. Never mind. I'll read it attentively later. In the meantime, I'll show you a video from the makers of the fiber optic gyro explaining how, when it's idle, it detects no motion. Of course, it detects no motion. There isn't any motion going on. But somehow, an experiment involving Chris Van Mitra somehow detects 15 degrees. Then so goes the flat Earth circus. Light world, absolutely. Rolf, yeah, I know. It's easy to lose a word like that in a text that long, especially when it's only mentioned like maybe once or a couple of times. Fiber optic gyro. Right, just give me a second. I want to make sure this is the right one. Yes, this is the right one.
Beam to return to the starting point. If the fog is stationary, the beams will meet back at the starting point at the same time. But if the...
It's as simple as that. Okay. I'm going to screen share. This comes from KVH Industries. And I show it for educational purposes. I showed it some time ago. I don't remember if it was on this channel or my previous, but never mind. Come on. So, I hope we're all familiar with the fiber optic gyro, the Sagnac effect, and the ring laser gyro. They work on the same principle. Okay, I'm going to play this. That's going to briefly explain.
Light in opposite directions around.
Right, let me go back.
A fiber optic gyro works by sending two different beams of light in opposite directions around a closed path, and then it precisely measures the amount of time it takes for each beam to return to the starting point. If the fog is stationary, the beams will meet back at the starting point at the same time.
How can the fiber optic gyro be stationary if the Earth is rotating? I'm going to play it again. This is the part that I don't understand. Well, I do understand how it is that it escaped global, how it is that even did the test in the first place with a fiber optic gyro, when this is what the makers of the fiber optic gyro describe. In fact, if it didn't work like this, it wouldn't work as a navigation tool.
A fiber optic gyro works by sending two different beams of light in opposite directions around a closed path, and then it precisely measures the amount of time it takes for each beam to return to the starting point. If the fog is stationary, the beams will meet back at the starting point at the same time. But if the fog is rotated, then the beams will travel different distances before they recombine at the starting point.
It's as simple as that, you deceitful people, globebusters, i.e. Chris Van Mitra and Bob Nodell. There. Right, that's it. Now I'm looking in the chat. And that didn't say idle. That says stationary. The documents say the word idle. So I'm now looking in the chat. Oh, sorry, I will stop that because I want to look at my pretty hair. Oh, it's not pretty. Isn't it? To me, it's so fascinating to be changing the world from my bedroom. It's just bizarre. And I mean that literally. In fact, I was really thinking of calling the book The Man Who Changed the World. Obviously, sarcastically or with tongue-in-cheek a bit. And I already have the title for the second book, which is killer. But yeah. Anita Holman, greetings. I'm seeing lots of new people. I can tell new people that are watching tonight because you don't have wrenches. Everybody, I gave a whole bunch of wrenches out the other day, including one to trolls are trolls. Troll versus trolls. Like, was I fatigued or what? Luckily, somebody contacted me and said, you want to see this video? I looked at the video, I thought, oh, this is a guy that passed that video to Flat Earth Reset. That's interesting. Instead of having a wrench, I think he can be blocked. So he's blocked now. Doug Terry, I've shown the map. The map is on Facebook. I'll show you the map right now. The map is on Facebook, but if you can't be bothered going on Facebook, or if you haven't been on Facebook, this is the map. That's it. Present day Earth. You'll notice, see this concavity here and this concavity here. I mean, I'm talking concavity, but it's just these areas, okay? How they're similar, okay? But this one is pointing is opposite. The reason for this is this land, the majority of this land, evolved under a different sun and a different period altogether. You have to get the book of the sun, oops, to really get what I'm saying. Doug Terry, you're welcome. Yeah, you don't even have to add me, Doug Terry. You could just go to my Facebook. It's there. I mean, yeah, feel free to add me. I mean, if you're talking to me. But you could just go to my page and find it and download it, play with it. So this, what? Okay, so good question. Why put a circle around the about the what? Did it say a map or FE map? FE map. Okay. So it's not a circle. That's not a circle. This is not being shown at an angle. Okay, this is shown. This would be a north-south view, a God's eye view. Okay, if God could see land masses void of light, otherwise you'd only see the portion that's illuminated. So this area here, which is this is so oblate and lopsided. Okay. The reason this area is so large is the magnetic anomaly that cuts across here. Okay, there's a magnetic anomaly that cuts like this, like I'm going to draw with my hand. Like this. It comes down from the sky, this anomaly. It comes down from the sky. The water in this area is lower as a consequence, and the ice is receding as a consequence. The Halley station, if you look at this and you guide yourselves by, say, Greenland, because you have to use guides other than longitudes. Longitudes are a mathematical construct for the globe. When the British people go to the Halley base, this is where they're going. This region. This is where the Halley base is. And this, so the Halley base is about here. Here, there's a bizarre array of antennas in Antarctica. I'll show it in a minute. The Halley base, they keep having to move it. It's either every year or every 2 years. They move it away from the coast because, well, the coast is receding. Now I'm going to show you a video of Antarctica. Just a second. By a globe earther, a UFO conspiracist, who found this interesting stuff in Antarctica. Yes, why Australia? So that might explain why Australia doesn't have any rhinos, elephants, and tigers. And Antonio Subirats evolved under a different sun. Absolutely, it did. In fact, it also has the platypus, which is so bizarre. And I described that. I have a chapter called The Octopus and the Platypus. Mark Stacked. It's called Antonio Subirats. Oh, Antonio Subirats Knowles. Knowles. That's my full crown-owned name. And I know Poncho knows what I'm talking about. Right. I'm looking for this channel with this video. I think this is the one. Just give me a second. It's really interesting, and you can see it on Google Earth. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll show you on Google Earth instead. How's that? Legal name, that's right. Yeah, none of us are a legal name. You know, who are you? I'm me. I'm me. And we all say the same thing. Who are you? I'm me. I'm me. I'm me. I'm me. I'm me. I'm me. Why are we all saying I am me? Because we are all me. What? Say fractal consciousness. Right, give me a second as I initiate Google Earth to find this bizarre place, which happens to coincide with a pulse that emanates from Antarctica. So what this chap had done was he'd found this place and made a video of it. So I'm now trying to remember approximately where it was in Antarctica and hope they haven't removed it.